Welcome back to Bat Fridays here on One Comic Book a Day, where I'm finally starting to get back into the tempo of things in my life after coming back from Orlando. I'm even wearing a jacket that proves I was in Orlando. Probably could have bought it from anywhere. Today, we are continuing our way through Batman number 2 and the third story in Batman number 2. That is a lot of numbers that don't quite match up with each other. The third story, Batman number 2, The Case of the Clubfoot Murderers. This is basically a generic detective, like dime store novel kind of story at the time, especially the type of stories that the publishers of DC were publishing in like pulp novels or the pulp magazines to be more specific. It just has Batman in it. And it sort of has a twist that kind of makes it a Batman villain in a way, very marginally. But it's just like a traditional story, detective story, pulp story. You get what I'm saying. It opens with Batman fighting this guy who's just murdered someone. He has a clubfoot and a silver hook for a hand, so yeah, we're really making that kind of story, aren't we? This should be an easy fight for Batman, but Batman trips over his clubfoot and then gets kicked in the face. So really early days for Batman, he gets defeated by a dude whose whole thing is he has a clubfoot. And Clubfoot doesn't use his razor sharp claw thing that looks more like a crowbar than it does a claw. Well, in the traditional don't have sex before marriage claw story that you would tell around the campfire type of claw. A hook. Why do I keep saying claw? It's a hook. Maybe I'm not getting back in the tempo of things. Anyway, it turns out the murder victim is Harley Storm, or Stormy, it ends with an E. Harley is a millionaire, you know, all these millionaires that seem to exist in all these cities who either die or get kidnapped on a weekly basis, is now dead, so there is a reading of his will where we meet most of our suspects. Most of them don't show up again after this, so yeah, it does work in the style of a murder story and giving us our suspects, but they don't really matter if you're not going to actually do anything with them. Which is why this probably would work better as like a pulp novel than like a 14-page comic book story. Once again, we don't have enough time for a lot of this. It turns out he's left his entire fortune to his lawyer Ward. Well, that's suspicious. I would look into that. And he's left everyone else in the family a sealed envelope that will be read in 30 days. And these tiny pieces, they're like triangle, like a pie piece, that say, united we stand, divided we fall. They very clearly go into one whole piece, but none of the family figures that out because they're stupid, gritty, and angry at this moment. Bruce happens to be there because, once again, Gordon likes to invite him to things. He's never suspicious when Bruce goes, hey, I want to go see that. But he doesn't put that together at that moment either. One of the members of the family owes a gambling debt to a loan shark named Varric. Varric sees the piece and realizes what it is. So at least someone smart, though it had to be the guy who is dishonest and murdery to begin with. He plans to take Ward to try to figure out what's actually going on. Clubfoot returns. By the way, at the will reading, we found out Clubfoot is this guy who got screwed out of the gold mine Harley owns and has been threatening the family for years. Clubfoot goes after the family and ends up murdering two members of the family. I can't tell you which ones they are because not many of them actually had anything to do in this story. Batman finally goes and gets Robin, who is a character you don't think to exist in this story for a while because it takes about halfway point for him to show up. And he goes to see the lawyer. This is where he runs into Varric's guys inside. He easily takes care of them. He breaks through the window and starts beating the crap out of them. And Robin seems to be incredibly useful after like 5 or 6 issues of being knocked out and helps Batman take these guys out. He finds out where they are keeping Ward. He goes and saves Ward, where once again, Batman and Robin are very useful in a fight. Go Robin! Finally, that training's working. Varric reveals what he thinks was happening, which also Batman kind of concurs with that idea, but Varric now is too worried about Batman to actually get involved in this anymore. And this is a weird part because this is a story where he's fighting a clubfoot murder, but he spends more of this comic fighting like Varric and his loan shark game than actually going after the clubfoot murderer. Like, if you're going to create a murderer, you've got to give him stuff to do for the rest of the comic and not just like fap about with the other crime elements of the city. Batman sends Robin to go investigate one of the members of the family so they're not murdered, while he's going to go check on where this letter is to figure out what the secret to these pieces is. when Robin shows up, he runs right into the Clubfoot. And if you think this is going to be a fight where he's going to be knocked out for like the 5th or 6th story in a row, I have a surprise for you. Robin takes him in the fight. Batman couldn't even take Clubfoot in the fight, but Robin takes him. Good on Robin. Showing why he's useful. Though Clubfoot somehow escapes by getting in a car and driving away, he has a Clubfoot, Robin. You should be able to chase him down. Back to Batman, he ends up finding Clubfoot chained into a basement. It turns out that this is the actual guy and he hasn't murdered anyone. It's in fact the lawyer Ward who, after finding out the scheme of putting all these pieces to find the secret of the gold mine, where the location of the gold mine to his heirs, decided to screw around with the will and murder everybody. So because he's an heir, he will get all of the gold mine once they're all dead. And everything will be blamed on Clubfoot, except for the fact that Clubfoot's still alive. Is he going to murder him afterwards? I don't know, there's a flaw in this plan. Of course, now that the story's over, Batman can beat him up. And we never even get like a scene with the other heirs. Just like, yeah, it's over. We know this is going to reveal the gold mine. He only had 30 days to do this before the letter was read. For some reason. Really don't understand Harley's plan here, why he just didn't tell them to begin with. Other than he wanted to screw with his family. And you know, if I was really rich, I'd want to do that too. So yeah, it's a simple Batman story. It's, once again, doesn't live up to the first story of this comic, which, if you remember, was Joker meeting Catwoman. But it's not really a mob story, though it really wants to be a mob story. And that is it from the third story, The Case of the Clubfoot Murders. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. I do this Monday through Friday. But Mondays and Thursdays, I cover a Superman story in either Action Comics or the main Superman line. And please join us next time. Same bat day, same comic book channel. Have a great day.